coast to the Rock-On Coast and streaming live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Hello everyone. Today on Good Morning Maine, game officials say a man died after an ATV crash in Piscataquis County. We'll have more on that coming up.
Also, an investigation is underway after a major bridge collapse in Old Town last week. We'll have the details coming up.
And the MDA Golf Tournament is returning to Orrington for a very good cause. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Janessa Bishop.
And I'm Craig Colson. Thank you for joining us on this Monday morning. It's time to go back to work.
It is.
Hope you had a great weekend, though. We'll have all the day's news coming up, but first to check that forecast, and it looks like the timing is right. We had pretty good weather over the weekend.
We did.
Some people saw a little rain, but for the most part, it was pretty nice. Today, though, pretty much on the rainy side.
Very, very rainy.
So if you're in a tent out there camping in Maine somewhere, we wish you the best.
We do.
Yeah.
We'll turn things over to meteorologist Evan Biggs.
And thank you very much, Craig and Janessa. Happy Monday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Old Town Redemption Center, now offering a 10% bonus on your returnables and a monthly $100 drawing. Alrighty, here we go. This morning we have some rain passing just off toward the north and across our viewing area, and we are going to hold on to that rain on and off throughout the morning period and throughout the afternoon as well. So it is going to be a wet one throughout the daytime period today. So if you have some indoor activities and work that you can do, definitely do those today, as it will be a wet one to do any kind of outdoor work or activities. As we do zoom things out, that area low pressure making the entire northeast rather wet with some rain showers and at times a few rumbles of thunder passing through. Here's Futurecast showing those rain showers today, tracking from west to east. We are going to keep some rain showers passing through tonight with the clouds and even some areas of dense fog developing. We'll also have some gusty winds today, reaching up to about 20 to even 25 miles per hour, with the winds relaxing later on tonight. And as we head towards tomorrow, not much of a wind to worry about at all. Already your hourly forecast pushing forward. We'll have plenty of rain today, with temperatures not warming up all that much, only into the upper 60s. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig and Janessa.
Thank you, Devin. We'll look forward to that. First this morning, a man has died following an ATV crash in Piscataquis County. Game officials say it was around 2 o'clock Sunday afternoon when 20-year-old Bruce Kennedy of North Berwick was riding ATVs with a friend in a remote area. They were riding near Wadley Pond when Kennedy failed to make it around the curve in the road and lost control.
Authorities say Kennedy passed away at the scene of the accident. They say he was not wearing a helmet, and they believe that excessive speed was a factor in that crash. Well, meanwhile, the Penobscot County Sheriff's Office arrested 2 individuals in Herman on Saturday afternoon. Those arrests happened at a residence on Deerfield Drive. Authorities say that they were called to the residence to conduct a bail search involving a person previously arrested at the same house following an earlier search warrant. Trevor Cameron, 41 of Herman, was arrested on an outstanding warrant, which included a Maine warrant with extradition in all New England states. Christopher Cunningham, a 39-year-old transient, was arrested for a probation violation after authorities say that he had contact with an individual that he was prohibited from contacting. They were both taken to the Penobscot County Jail, and authorities say that this marked the second search warrant served at this Herman residence.
Police say a New Hampshire man was arrested by state troopers after dispatchers received more than a dozen calls about the suspect driving erratically on the interstate. According to state police, the Bangor Regional Communications Center answered 14 calls about a vehicle traveling over 100 miles per hour on I-295 in Bodenham on Saturday afternoon.
Troopers attempted to narrow down the vehicle's location as well. Authorities say that they managed to locate the vehicle operated by 22-year-old Alexandra Forsyth of Jaffrey, New Hampshire. He was stopped on I-95 in Waterville. The driver has been charged with criminal OUI and criminal speeding. Well, in other news this morning, fire marshals say that they are unable to determine what started a fire in Milo on Friday morning. Maine Public Safety spokesperson Aaron Turcotte says that the Milo Fire Department responded to a structure fire a little after 5 a.m. on Friday. Turcotte says that when they arrived, they found a well-developed fire on the second floor of the single-family residence with flames extending to the roof area. He says that the fire caused significant damage to the home and the 2 residents were displaced. They're being assisted by the American Red Cross. Turcotte says that the fire marshals believe the fire started in the second-floor bathroom, but due to a structural collapse within the residence, they were unable to determine the exact area of origin or the cause of that fire.
Well, an investigation is underway in Old Town after a portion of a major bridge collapsed during its reconstruction project on Thursday. It resulted in 1 person being sent to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The Maine DOT said on Friday that they are actively collecting data and information from all involved in the aspects of design, fabrication, and construction of that bridge. They add that they're coordinating with the Maine Department of Environmental Protection to ensure there are no concerns regarding the structure's status, saying that no significant environmental issues have been identified. The DOT will also be conducting inspections of bridge spans and the temporary detour bridge, which carries traffic over the Stillwater River. Their statement reads in part, quote, Maine DOT personnel are on site and are engaged with the contractor and local officials to assess the incident, gather information, conduct a thorough fact-finding review, and to determine the next steps. The department will continue working with all partners involved to minimize impacts to the construction schedule and to those traveling through the area, end quote. We reached out to bridge contractor Reed & Reed for comment, but we haven't heard back from them.
Well, following the 4th driest July in Maine on record, experts warn drought conditions are expanding to more parts of the state.
Well, recently, our Grace Blanchard spoke with a UMaine professor and state climatologist about the state's current drought conditions.
What do drought conditions look like currently?
Well, there's been a recent expansion of drought across portions of the state. Much of the state is in at least abnormal dryness. That includes up to the northern counties. There's a broad swath of Maine that is now in moderate drought, and the mid-coast region is now, as of today, the U.S. Drought Monitor shows it in severe drought.
And why are we seeing this expansion right now?
There have been precipitation deficits over the past month, and this was following a near normal to, in some places, a wet spring. But there's also been lingering groundwater deficits from last year's drought, especially in the southern counties in mid-coast area. And so with the precipitation deficits that have developed, also in addition to, I mean, we all noticed there have been some 90-degree days, and that really saps the moisture out of soil. So that was a factor as well.
What does this potentially mean for well waters?
Well, for areas, especially the areas that are most impacted, there are reports of wells that are running dry, and other wells just concerned that more wells will run dry. And those can be registered with the Maine Dry Well Survey. For people who are in areas or who have wells, if there is concern of the well running dry, then now is the time to try to start conserving water as best as possible.
And what does the future of this, how can we solve this, or what is it going to take to address this?
Well, first I'd like to mention that in comparison to last year's drought, so far this has been slower developing, and the impacts overall have been less severe. Now it depends, there could be certainly localized cases. And so looking into the forecast time period as well as outlooks for the next month, it seems likely that we'll continue to get some scattered rainfall, which has in some areas been really beneficial. There hasn't been much, but it's been helpful to keep soils at least somewhat moist. But what we really need is a beneficial rainfall, soaking rain, and so we'll have to keep an eye on the forecast to see if that develops sometime soon. But that's, in order to really alleviate drought entirely, we're really going to start to need to get soaking rains.
Absolutely. And we'll have a link to some of those resources that Sean mentioned on our website. Sean, thank you so much.
And as Grace just stated, to revisit that conversation and to learn more, you can visit our website at foxbangor.com.
Now the news, Maine's Emerald Ash borer quarantine has been expanded. The emerald ash borer is an invasive metallic green beetle from Asia that feeds on and kills all species of native North American ash trees. In early July, it was detected in Jackman, and in early August, a Hancock County professional arborist reported finding it in the town of Surrey. Both towns were outside of the regulated area. As a result, areas in Franklin, Hancock, Penobscot, and Somerset counties have been added to the quarantine areas. There, you can only use local or heat-treated firewood in those areas to protect the forest from further damage.
Well, officials say in East Millinocket say that the fire department is the first in the state to outfit their whole crew with new PFAS-free gear.
Our Calvin White with that story.
For years, firefighters have used protective equipment made with cancer-causing chemicals. But for the first time in Maine, a fire department has received new PFAS-free turnout gear. Commonly known as forever chemicals, PFAS are man-made substances used in water repellent or fire-resistant materials. They are a key material in firefighting gear and have been linked to various health issues such as cancers and immune system disorders. Selena Charette says firefighters already have to deal with the dangers of cancer-causing materials when they enter a burning building.
Firefighters now are exposed to so much chemicals and just everything that materials that are being built.
Over the years, fully PFAS-free firefighting gear has been developed, but getting the new suits can run up a large bill.
One set of gear, just a coat and the pants, you're looking at about $4,000 each. Another $500 for boots, another $500 for a helmet, $150 for a pair of gloves, another $150 for a hood. It all adds up quickly.
For the East Millinocket Fire Department, finding that kind of money for their 25-strong crew is a tough task, especially in a small town that has had a constrained budget since the town paper mill closed. However, this summer, the department received a $90,000 grant from the Gloria C. McKenzie Foundation to fund the suits. They were already looking at new gear, but would have had to upgrade slowly, one suit at a time.
For a community of this size, that's a huge grant for us. We were able to outfit all of our department with the PFAS-free gear.
We are extremely grateful for having our new gear. We really appreciate the McKenzie Foundation. This is going to protect us against cancer and be able to live a long, healthy life.
In East Millinocket, Calvin White, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
The time now is 8:12. Coming up next on Good Morning Maine, a Maine veteran celebrated his 100th birthday over the weekend. We'll join them coming up.
But first, another look at that forecast. A rainy day ahead today with high temperatures around 68 degrees. Showers continuing tonight, the lows dropping down to the low 60s. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy with scattered thunderstorms. High temperatures around 75. We'll be right back.
I went to work in the woods after high school. The harder we worked, the more that the companies took from us. That's why we organized. We made them listen. People are doing everything they can right and still cannot get ahead. Susan Collins keeps telling us everything is just fine. Who has she served? She has served Donald Trump. She has served the billionaires. She has served herself. We are getting screwed, and I'm running to change that.
Government that works PAC's responsible for the content of this ad.
Got old metal and junk cars? Turn that clutter into cash at Daddy and Daughters. We make recycling easy, fast, and fair. From Skowhegan to Dover Foxcroft, from Troy to Lee, you can trust our certified scales and friendly service, offering top prices for junk vehicles in Maine. Whether you drop off or we pick up, Daddy and Daughters covers central and eastern Maine. Come see us at one of our 4 locations and watch your scrap pay off. Daddy and Daughters turn scrap into cash.
I have 2 teens whose stomachs are bottomless pits. Good thing Hannaford has all of our favorites at everyday low prices.
Back again, Ted?
Yep. Every week I tell myself I'm buying too much pasta. Every week I'm wrong.
Same time tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, they're bringing home friends.
Hannaford has everyday low prices on thousands of items you use every day.
Hey.
If you know, you go.
I gotta go back to the store. They're bringing home friends.
Thinking of buying a used car? Be on the alert for the potential for fraud with private vehicle sales. Knowing the signs of fraud and doing your research can help ensure you get a good deal and not swindled. Before handing over your hard-earned cash, thoroughly research the vehicle's history. And remember, if a deal seems too good to be true, it probably is. Brought to you by this station, the Maine Association of Broadcasters, and the Office of the Secretary of State.
On Saturday, a Maine veteran celebrated his 100th birthday. Donald Hancock's family held a birthday celebration for him at the Oxford Fairgrounds. Hancock served in World War II and later the Korean War. He has also received the Congressional Medal of Honor for his service, and he is the only living member of his patrol to receive it. Hancock says that was the honor of his life.
Senator Collins came from Washington to present it to me. So that's kind of my special highlight of my life. I mean, you'll get something that had to be passed by an act of Congress, and that was it.
Hancock was also a longtime firefighter. His family made his celebration open to the public to make it a generational teaching moment for families all across the community.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Happy 100th. Well, some of Bangor's bravest will be getting out on the green next week for a very good cause. The Bangor Professional Firefighters IAFF Union is once again partnering with the Muscular Dystrophy Association for the Adam McDonald Memorial MDA Open on Saturday, August 22nd. The tournament is returning to Pine Hill Golf Course in Orrington and costs $250 per four-person team. All ages and skills levels are welcome. All proceeds will be going to support research toward a cure for muscular dystrophy.
We started this tournament about 10 years ago, and in 2021 we renamed it in honor of Adam McDonald, who was a close friend of a lot of firefighters and died of Duchenne muscular dystrophy. And since then, we have worked with his mom, Cheryl, to honor his legacy, his memory, and continue his fight for a cure for muscular dystrophy.
There's plenty of time to still sign up and enjoy a day out on the course while supporting that mission. You can visit Bangor Professional Firefighters on Facebook for more information.
And a state network dedicated to biomedical science research and undergraduate student experience celebrated its 25th anniversary.
Our Sam Miller with that story.
Scientists, students, and academic leaders gathered at the Maine MDI Bio Lab in Bar Harbor to showcase a quarter-century of the Maine Idea Network of biomedical research excellence's progress in advanced discovery and economic development.
The program has evolved in a way that it's had a huge impact, not just for the state of Maine, but for the entire country, United States, and also all around the world.
The program, also known as Maine IMBRI, was established in 2001 with a handful of institutions. Now, 17 universities and research institutions spanning Maine are involved, such as the University of Maine, Farmington, Bates, and Colby College. Through IMBRI, over 3,000 undergraduates receive direct research and experience. Over 90% of them go on to pursue careers or further education, including MDI Biolab Research Assistant Samuel Cousins.
The end goal for any of us people here is to help others, right? To explore the world of biology and our health so we can ultimately use it to improve other people's lives.
Funded by grants to the National Institutes of Health, the Maine IMBRI has invested over $107 million into biomedical infrastructure. Dr. Nishad Jayasundra of Duke University has been with the program since the beginning and discussed how important programs like the Maine IMBRI are in helping mankind evolve.
The foundation of human progress is through science and innovation and technology, and having these kinds of programs that enables citizens around the country to really tap into that resources and learn and also become part of that innovation process is incredibly important. So I'm thankful for the programs like this.
In Bar Harbor, Sam Miller, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, the time now is 8:19. After the break, the state of Hawaii and communities in the Midwest are experiencing severe storms. We'll have more on that ahead.
Plus, a Maine fishing guide is helping to keep the waters clean. We'll join him as Good Morning Maine swims along.
At Old Town Redemption Center, we are always ready to help with any fundraisers or bottle drives. We are here to help our community. Like and follow us on Facebook for upcoming weekly holiday giveaways and our monthly $100 drawing.
Chevy drivers across America will do a lot in the next 5 years. But one thing they won't do is pay interest on their new Chevy. Right now, get 0% financing for 5 years on all 2026 Silverado 1500 models. With no payments for 90 days. Because you've earned this summer. Now it's time to go get it.
Visit your Maine Chevy dealers.
Disturbing news about threats of violence against women. Is it Graham Plattner again? No, it's Troy Jackson. When a female legislator disagreed with Jackson, he threw a water bottle at her in anger. The woman was deeply frightened. Jackson was known for bullying, and his screaming felt like intentional intimidation. His brash conduct with women raised alarm bells about his temperament. Troy Jackson, another phony we can't trust. Pine Tree Results PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
I don't want anybody to freak out, but I just got some big news.
This fall, everyone's favorite small town doc is back.
This is a small community, being kind and neighborly. What do you think I am, a moron?
Absolutely, 100% yes.
You are one of the finest surgeons in the country. What is actually keeping you here?
You're one of us, and you belong here.
This seriously warms my heart.
Best Medicine premieres Tuesday, September 22nd on Fox.
At Old Town Redemption Center, we are always ready to help with any fundraisers or bottle drives. We are here to help our community. Like and follow us on Facebook for upcoming weekly holiday giveaways and our monthly $100 drawing.
The best days on the river are usually measured by the fish that you catch. But for one Maine fishing guide, they're also measured by the difference he leaves behind.
As our Alex Schley tells us, that Mainer is turning his passion for the water into a mission to restore it.
What started as picking up a few abandoned tires after a day on the water has grown into a personal mission to help clean up Maine's rivers.
For years, I've seen all these tires all around the river, visually see them on the shoreline. It was jokes with clients and friends about look at all the tires. And then one day I just decided I'm gonna pull some of these out.
That first haul quickly led to questions.
And people were like, why are you removing all the fish structure?
Brandon says concerned they were right. He started digging into the history of why tires were in the river.
They're mostly all 1950s to the 80s, I'll say. And it happened because scientists and media back then, that was our first time in society where cars were mainstream. Everybody had to replace their tires. There was billions of tires on the land. We didn't know what to do with them. And, some scientists thought it'd be a great idea to bundle them and make artificial fish structure.
Decades later, Beekridge is taking them out one by one. Just this week, he pulled out his 600th tire. And for Brandon, it wasn't just about removing trash. Brandon says the difference today is hard to miss.
When I see just how beautiful they are now, how far they've come, how clean they are, and really, like I said, the bulk of the trash is the tires.
And even after 600, Brandon says he's not done because what started as a few has turned into a mission to leave Maine's waterways a little cleaner than he found them. In Waterville, Alex Schley for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
What a great thing to do. If all of us did just a little of what he's doing,
exactly,
we'd have a much better state.
There would definitely be a difference.
Yeah.
Well, now let's get a full look at our weather forecast with meteorologist Devin Biggs.
Alrighty, Craig and Janessa, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by Old Town Redemption Center, now offering a 10% bonus on your returnables and a monthly $100 drawing. Alrighty, here we go. Wave heights up a little bit this morning along the coast at around 3 to 4 feet according to the buoys. Already nearby as well, very calm farther out towards sea. All the buoys farther out towards sea reporting 1 foot wave heights this morning. Meanwhile, on land, we do have some rain showers that are tracking from west to east across the northern parts of the state, while further down toward the south, not looking too bad. So if you have some indoor activities that you can do, definitely plan on those today, as it will be tough to do any kind of outdoor work with all the rain that will be passing through today. As we do zoom things out, it's the entire northeast seeing some of those rain showers. We'll have to wait until later on into the week for these rain showers to clear on out of here as the cold front passes through. So here's future Futurecast in the short term, we have the rain showers today, and then later on tonight, as the rain showers continue and the clouds linger, we'll also have some areas of dense fog that will also develop, so visibility will be tough out there, especially as we head towards the daytime period tomorrow. But once we head towards Tuesday night, that's when things will begin to improve. Gusty winds today reaching up to about 20 to 25 miles per hour. But once we head towards tonight, that wind will relax, and that will definitely allow some of that fog to develop. But once we head towards your Tuesday, the wind's still staying rather calm. Here's what we got for your muggy meter coming up. Notice the humidity is up, so definitely supporting the rain and the fog out there. We'll see that gradually decreasing throughout the week. So for today, we have a mostly cloudy sky, some showers out there with highs in the upper 60s and that south wind getting up to about 25 miles per hour. Later on tonight, we have low 60s, showers, areas of dense fog as well, with the wind overall looking nice and calm. And then for tomorrow, mostly cloudy, some scattered thunderstorms out there, nothing too ridiculous, with highs in the mid 70s and that northeast wind getting up to about 5 miles per hour. And let's check out your extended forecast for your Wednesday. We're dry with a mostly cloudy sky and highs in the low 80s. For your Thursday, a partly cloudy sky and highs in the low 80s as well. Low 80s continue Friday under a mostly sunny sky.
Many abused and neglected animals are hungry and need help right now. Many animals are starving, wondering if food will ever come, with the unbearable pain that comes with that, and they need our help.
There are animals that have no idea when their next meal will come. They can't even remember when their last meal was. And they are moments from dying.
So I'm here to ask you, will you open your heart to help an animal who's hungry? Go online, call, or simply scan this code and donate just $19 a month. You'll help feed a hungry animal. That's just 63 cents a day to fill their empty bowl and show them the love in your heart.
There are empty bowls that are sitting there waiting to be filled. You can tell that these dogs are so weak from hunger. They've known no other life but a life of suffering.
No animal should have to go hungry. And with your support today, you will help feed a hungry animal. You can fill their bowl, but you have to make your urgent life-saving gift today. So please join in the next 10 minutes. And if you do, we'll send you this free welcome kit to thank you for helping an animal today.
There's always an empty bowl on the ground that should have food in it. And it's very clear from the appearance of these dogs that that bowl hasn't had food in it for a long time.
We urgently need 3,000 new donors in the next 30 days. Please say you'll be one of them by signing up today. No animal should ever go hungry, and I know you agree. Please make this the moment that you say, I won't stand by while they suffer. Help fill their bowl too. Go online, call, or scan this code right now.
President Trump is scaling back the U.S. joint military exercises with South Korea. He cited America's very good relationship with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un.
ABC's Karen Waugh is in Washington with the details.
This morning, President Trump cutting back joint military exercises with ally South Korea. His reasoning, America's, quote, very good relationship with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un.
And then we fell in love. Okay? No, really. He wrote me beautiful letters.
On social media, Trump saying the military drills are expensive and sent a signal that is totally inappropriate and hostile to North Korea, which he calls unthreatening and respectful. He also blasted South Korea for not supporting the U.S. in the war with Iran. North Korea has long supplied missile technology to Iran and has sent troops to fight for Russia in Ukraine. Since Trump's first term, North Korea has only expanded its stock of nuclear weapons. Meanwhile, President Trump downplaying concerns of deplorable conditions and suicide attempts on the USS Abraham Lincoln. 5,000 sailors and Marines have been at sea supporting the war in Iran for a record 268 days.
No. Not nearly long enough.
Both Republicans and Democrats disagreeing with Trump's response.
I think it's better to acknowledge, hey, this is hard on the families, it's hard on the service members. Thank them for being willing to defend our country.
The deep problem here is that this administration did not plan for this war.
Another carrier is on its way to relieve the USS Lincoln in a few weeks. Karen Waugh, ABC News, Washington.
Well, meanwhile, Hayden Panettiere, star of popular television series including Heroes in Nashville, has died. She was just 36 years old. Panettiere's father, Skip, announced the actor's death in a statement provided to ABC News on Sunday. No cause of death was announced. Panettiere had a prolific career dating to 1996, and her credits included Remember the Titans, being the voice of Dot in A Bug's Life, and many others. Her role as a cheerleader with superpowers in Heroes propelled her to fame. She had been open about her struggles with alcohol addiction and depression, including after the birth of her daughter in 2014.
Residents in Ratang were dealing with damaged homes and disrupted basic services after a deadly earthquake struck Indonesia. Saturday's quake, which killed 54 and forced at least 5,000 people to evacuate, was the nation's deadliest since the 2022 quake, which killed hundreds in West Java. Several buildings in Ratang were damaged, including a Catholic university. Debris scattered across the affected areas, while authorities continue to assess damage to residents' homes. Rescuers are now focusing on the main areas that are still inaccessible after that earthquake hit.
Well, now to powerful storms in the Midwest and Hawaii. On the Big Island, more than tens and thousands of people are without power, and at least 2 hospitals are running on generators after Tropical Storm Lala dropped several feet of rain in some areas.
Meanwhile, in the Midwest, powerful storms have turned deadly, with flood watches still in places in several states this morning. ABC Sophie Flay has more.
This morning, communities in the Midwest devastated by deadly flooding after days of relentless rain. In hard-hit Indiana, at least 7 people were killed, including a 4-year-old.
I've never seen it flood so much as it has here lately.
Across the state, raging floodwaters washing out roads, submerging cars, and reaching the roofs of homes. In the city of Carmel, new drone video showing this bridge ripped apart. Dozens of people had to be rescued, including this family in Indianapolis. The powerful storms also brought winds reaching 100 miles per hour, downing trees and power lines. It comes as another round of severe weather slams the region, stretching from Missouri to Virginia. Lightning striking in eastern Ohio. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, Tropical Storm Lala battering Hawaii after brushing the Big Island as a hurricane. Lala bringing torrential rain, life-threatening surf, and damaging winds. Some areas have been inundated with nearly 3 feet of rain. Officials say more than 100 structures were destroyed or damaged. Some homes swept off their foundations.
We will have long-standing road challenges, bridge challenges, access issues for residents that might be isolated.
2 paramedics had to be rescued after their truck became stranded by rapidly rising waters on the Big Island. Members of the Hawaii National Guard rushing in to pull them to safety. Overnight, more than 160,000 customers were without power. Officials say the outages could last weeks or even months in the hardest hit areas. Sophie Flay, ABC News, New York.
Boy, oh boy.
Yeah, very scary. Well, coming up on the second half of the newscast, we'll learn all about Castine's Wilson Museum.
Don't go away.
In the ICU, I've seen patients being bankrupted by the cost of care, and they're having to travel 3 and 4 hours to receive that care. This didn't just happen. Susan Collins voted to support Donald Trump on the largest Medicaid cut in history. Healthcare is getting even more expensive. People are losing coverage. Labor and delivery centers are closing. Hospitals are closing. We need to tell Susan Collins to stop siding with Donald Trump. We can't afford it.
We've got a 100-year-old company here, and it's because of the service, the quality, and the experience. It gets done right.
I think we've been doing it for so long. The only thing that we do, that when we walk into a room, we automatically know how to treat that window. We can take any product that the customer's looking for and make it work in just about any situation that they present us with. So
There's no reason to be overwhelmed when we can help you through it.
we're not going anywhere. We've been around for 100 years.
You're watching Fox 22, Bangor.
Welcome back to Good Morning Maine. Today is Monday, August 17th, 2026, and this is also National Thrift Shop Day.
This day encourages us to support local secondhand stores and their charitable missions. It was Edgar Helms, a Methodist minister in Boston, who founded Goodwill Industries in 1902. He pioneered the idea of collecting household goods and clothing, repairing them, and then training the poor and disabled to sell them. A vision that created a model for charity which provides both goods and dignity through work.
And you never know what you're going to find there. I've got some good
never
finds
know.
myself.
Oh, me too. Honestly, a lot of work clothes. It's a great place to go buy clothing or just everyday clothing. At Goodwill or some of the ones in downtown Bangor too.
It's not all charity, but you are supporting these organizations, and importantly, you're finding another use for this stuff that would just be thrown away otherwise.
Exactly.
So, all right, time for some history. It was on this date back in 1790. The capital city of the U.S. was moved from New York City to Philadelphia. In 1863, federal batteries and ships began bombarding Fort Sumter down in Charleston Harbor during the Civil War. And in 1945 on this date, the George Orwell novel Animal Farm was first published. The allegorical satire of Soviet communism was initially rejected by several publishers because they deemed it too controversial. But the novel would later become a staple for middle and high school learning worldwide. You and I have both had to read this at school.
Yes, yep,
One more for you. In 1961, communist East Germany completed construction of the Berlin Wall on this date.
And in 1969, one of the all-time grooviest events in music history came to a close in upstate New York. Originally planned to end at midnight, the performers rocked through the night and past dawn at the Woodstock Music Festival. In 1978, a team of 3 Americans completed the first transatlantic balloon flight. The 11-story Double Eagle II had taken off from a potato field in Presque Isle and landed 137 hours later, about 50 miles outside of Paris, France. A flight that also set a new endurance record. How cool is that?
I love the main connection to it, too.
Me too.
Yeah.
And lastly, in 1998, President Clinton delivered a television address in which he admitted to having a relationship with White House intern Monica Lewinsky. He was later impeached by the House of Representatives, but was acquitted by the U.S. Senate.
All right, for birthdays today, they include actor Austin Butler. He made it big portraying Elvis.
Elvis, yes.
He is 35 today. Musician Belinda Carlisle from the Go-Go's, she is 68. And actor Robert De Niro is 83 years old today, still out there making movies,
He is.
Happy birthday to you also, if your birthday is today.
We'll turn things right back over to meteorologist Evan Biggs.
And thank you very much, Craig and Janessa. Happy Monday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Old Town Redemption Center. Now offering a 10% bonus on your returnables and a monthly $100 drawing. Alrighty, here we go. This morning we have some rain passing just off toward the north and across our viewing area. And we are going to hold on to that rain on and off throughout the morning period and throughout the afternoon as well. So it is going to be a wet one throughout the daytime period today. So if you have some indoor activities and work that you can do, definitely do those today, as it will be a wet one to do any kind of outdoor work or activities. As we do zoom things out, that area low pressure making the entire northeast rather wet with some rain showers and at times a few rumbles of thunder passing through. Here's Futurecast showing those rain showers today, tracking from west to east. We are going to keep some rain showers passing through tonight with the clouds and even some areas of dense fog developing. We'll also have some gusty winds today, reaching up to about 20 to even 25 miles per hour, with the winds relaxing later on tonight. And as we head towards tomorrow, not much of a wind to worry about at all. Already, your hourly forecast pushing forward. We'll have plenty of rain today, with temperatures not warming up all that much, only into the upper 60s. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig and Janessa.
Thank you, Devin. Well, two siblings are trying to bring back Dance Dance Revolution. They're picking up millions of social media views for their love of that game.
But only one of them actually knew about it. Here's ABC's Danny New.
As Jim Carrey shows us in Yes Man, arcade games like Dance Dance Revolution can be a great way to get the party going. Or, in the case of the East family, they can provide the ultimate showdown for a sibling rivalry.
Why did you want to beat your brother so badly?
Oh, I can answer this.
During his 40th birthday party last week, Adam here was surprised with a declaration of war after his sister, Sarah, trained for 30 weeks to beat him in his favorite classic arcade game known as DDR.
So, Adam, you really had no idea?
I had no idea. Even my wife found out weeks before, and she was sworn to secrecy.
This may be pretty surprising since over the past 8 months, millions on social media tuned in to watch Sarah's weekly training sessions to thwart her brother.
I'm Adam.
Her brother, who in his younger years competed in DDR tournaments around their province in Canada.
I remember traveling around to the movie theaters watching him compete, and I thought like he was the coolest thing ever.
What began as a fun little family prank is now being viewed millions of times. Yeah. You're gonna get wrecked.
But when Sarah stunned Adam with custom sibling DDR Showdown t-shirts this month, he may have been surprised. But that doesn't mean he wasn't ready. Adam picked 3 songs, Sarah picked 3 songs, and 3 more songs were voted on by her followers, and Adam still went undefeated. Even when he was wearing 5-pound ankle weights.
I was just so mesmerized. I was just watching him.
Sarah says this experience was still worth it, and even though some folks online were confused by a present centered on a duel.
Did that feel like a gift?
Oh, absolutely. It made my day.
So Adam turned 40, but Sarah is 29, meaning there is a good chance they set a rematch for her 30th birthday party next year. Good thing they don't have to face me, though. In New York, for ABC News, I'm Danny New.
Danny's got the moves.
He really does. I feel like that would be difficult. It's so fast.
I would think so. Yeah, their feet are just so incredibly fast.
Very.
Yeah.
Well, still to come here this morning, Jack Webb with sports.
Don't go away.
Lakeshore Restaurant in Dexter is open for the season, featuring a wide selection of seafood, lobster, salads, sandwiches, and more. Plus, don't forget to save room for dessert. Dine in or take out at 16 Crockett Road in Dexter. Visit us today.
Chevy drivers across America will do a lot in the next 5 years. But one thing they won't do is pay interest on their new Chevy. Right now, get 0% financing for 5 years on all 2026 Silverado 1500 models. With no payments for 90 days. Because you've earned this summer. Now it's time to go get it.
Visit your main Chevy dealers.
You don't get to buy the government that you want.
But let's look at what Troy Jackson did. Because Troy Jackson likes to keep it in the family. When Jackson was state Senate president, his son was one of the highest paid lobbyists in town. Special interests paid his son, and Jackson changed his positions. Was it a coincidence, or was something corrupt? Troy Jackson is just another dirty politician. SLF PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
President Feta cheese. So fresh. So creamy. No wonder it's the #1 feta in America. If it's excellent, it's President.
I'm Deborah Norville, and this is The Perfect Line. Arrange these holidays, these historic firsts, these animals by weight.
I have no idea.
Weekdays at 10 on Fox 22.
Lakeshore Restaurant in Dexter is open for the season, featuring a wide selection of seafood, lobster, salads, sandwiches, and more. Plus, don't forget to save room for dessert. Dine in or take out at 16 Crockett Road in Dexter. Visit us today.
It's a question so hard.
No!
Could you survive?
What? We just broke a record for people going out.
The 1% Club season finale, all new tonight on Fox.
Welcome back in, everyone. The Maine basketball royal family's back together in Maine, holding their third annual Flag Brothers Basketball Pro Camp over the weekend. Hundreds of kids between 1st and 6th grade took to the University of Maine campus to participate in this weekend's camp. The campers were put through a number of fundamental drills and controlled scrimmages while Cooper and Ace floated around, interacting with campers and giving out some tips while making kids' days with a simple high five, and they hope their fellow Mainers enjoy every second.
Yeah, just to soak it all in. I feel like when I was young, I didn't have this type of, experience or exposure to, players like this, and there wasn't really anything like this. So I think it's just really cool that we get to give them this experience, and I'm just really blessed at this whole opportunity. And, it's been great for the past 3 years to be able to come out here and just give back.
If we can inspire, the love for the game of basketball that we had as kids and these kids, show them that the game can be fun. It's supposed to be fun. I think that's the main goal.
The Mavericks clearly aren't taking flag for granted as new head coach Dusty May, who's fresh off winning a national championship with Michigan, along with new president Masih Ujiri and GM Mike Schmitz, were all in attendance in Orono on Saturday, along with other Mavericks personnel.
It means a lot, obviously for them to come up and show support, and obviously there's a bunch of people from last year's staff that was here, and Brandon Barkley, our head of player relations, and the media team is here again. So it's been really cool to have them come back twice, and some of the new staff to be able to get up here and spend some time in Maine is really cool.
Always great to see Coop back in Maine. Speaking of annual events, Wayne's Wiffle for a Wish returned to Bangor this past Saturday for their 18th annual charity wiffle ball tournament. Former Bangor sports media personality Wayne Harvey says he and his wife were thinking of ways to give back following the health struggles of their middle daughter. Fast forward almost 2 decades later, and their idea of a charity wiffle ball tournament is still going strong.
I didn't have a plan of how long this would last, how much we would, what did we have for a target goal. It just kind of evolved and grew. And my wife and I were talking about it, and it started the first year in a rainstorm. And she didn't even stay the whole day. And now, our kids are working here, and our friends' kids are working here. And it's grown exponentially. And it's amazing to see, where it started to where it is now. And I don't know what happens next.
Over those 18 years, Wayne's Wiffle for a Wish is zeroing in on $250,000 raised, with all proceeds going to Make-A-Wish Maine. Harvey says it's hard to even comprehend the impact of a wiffle ball tournament has made.
From playing wiffle ball. It's a kid's game. And for 18 years we've been doing this, and there's so many people that rotate in and out, and we're going to raise $250,000 and be able to give that back and see the people it helps. It's mind-blowing. All stays within the state. It helps out kids and families. And that's the beautiful thing about Make-A-Wish, is they don't pick and choose about it's this diagnosis or that diagnosis. It's how can we help? And they help out so many kids and so many families, and the siblings and the parents, whether it's that break from hospitals and visits and all that stuff, or it's something that they need desperately to make their lives better day to day.
It really is incredible that a wiffle ball tournament has raised almost $250,000. Shout out to Wayne Harvey and that crew. Down in Foxborough, Patriots wide receiver Kyle Williams is making plays, with many wondering if he will make the Patriots roster. I asked Patriots Hall of Famer Troy Brown what he'd say to Kyle Williams if he was his coach. Take a look. Troy, you're Kyle Williams' position coach. Tomorrow morning, you watch a film, he walks in the room, you got him one-on-one. What are you saying to him?
Kyle, you got to diversify yourself, man. Mm-hmm. You got to give us something different than just running by people. I know you can do it consistently. No matter they know you're going to run past them. We know you can do that consistently, but I got to have you in the game, running the in cut, running the curl, running the comeback, whatever it may be. You got to be able to execute in that part of the game, and then be able to catch and run with the ball too as well. So we're gonna keep working on this, Kyle. We're going to get in here, we're going to watch the film, we're going to talk about it, we're going to work on your acceleration, we're going to work on your deceleration, getting in and out of the breaks, creating separation at the top of the route, whether it's chicken winging the guy, whatever it is, or give him a little two-step at the top. We got to work on some things to get you open in the intermediate part of the field.
That was from the Patriots post-game show on Patriots.com and their YouTube. Fired up to be the host of the pre- and post-game show this year. You can find it on Patriots.com and their YouTube every game day. For now, that's all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
First, it was Graham Plattner's problems with women.
And now,
Troy Jackson.
According to a police report, Troy Jackson kicked down a door, punched a man in the face, and pushed his ex-girlfriend. As state Senate president, there are multiple reports of Jackson yelling and screaming at women. Jackson even threw a water bottle at one woman.
Make no mistake, this is an attempt to intimidate and control women.
Maine deserves better than Troy Jackson.
Pine Tree Results PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Way up north in Maine, down a road less traveled, lies Golden Road Crossing. We have everything you need to gear up for epic hikes, days spent fishing, and nights under the star-filled skies. Join us at Golden Road Yacht Club for cold drinks and Maine-grown comfort food. Gather round to make new friends, share stories, and create memories to last a lifetime. Come visit us at Golden Road Crossing, your hub on Maine's legendary Golden Road.
He put his life on the line for his country. Senator Susan Collins isn't forgetting him or any of our veterans. She's delivered millions in federal funding to improve housing for veterans across Maine and provide housing vouchers to make sure Maine veterans have a place to call home. She's also worked tirelessly to provide the quality mental health care our veterans deserve. Call and tell Senator Collins to keep fighting for our veterans.
You know Matt pretty well. Did he give you any advice?
He said that I should use 26 words or more.
When every word counts.
Trash panda.
Raccoon.
Yeah. You hand me a trash panda. That was gangster.
It pays to choose wisely.
Wed, Thurs.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
You just won it!
25 words or less every weekday.
Weekdays at 9 on Fox 22.
Castine's Wilson Museum preserves human history that goes beyond the small coastal town.
Our Doug Banks recently got the tour of the museum and has that story.
The goal of the Wilson Museum in Castine is to exhibit centuries of human creativity.
The museum was founded in 1921 by John Howard Wilson, who was a summer resident of Castine, fascinated with archaeology and anthropology and geology, and had built up a collection.
I think it's a draw to a small town that maybe doesn't have a museum or have something this spectacular.
Thousands of pieces fill the museum, including European stone tools made
hundreds of thousands of years ago,
a model of the Defense,
which was one of the American vessels in the Penobscot expedition,
and even a glow-in-the-dark rock collection.
It's very low-tech and really cool little piece of science.
Beyond the glass exhibits is the John and Phoebe Perkins House, a pre-Revolutionary War home the museum took stewardship of in the 1970s.
It's that human connection and travel across time.
During July and August, they offer multi-generational learning opportunities called Hands-On History.
Perennial favorite is our wood shop. We have a blacksmith shop. The museum, you can see all kinds of cool things, but they're static. So this gives visitors a chance to see the creation process.
I really like how it gets across all of the experiences and how it does things hands-on.
Museum officials hope the people who stop by 107 Perkins Street leave with a new piece of understanding of somebody other than themselves.
That idea that you can make some connection with someone whose life is different from yours and continue to expand that way of seeing our world as all of the people and all of their differences and how exciting that is.
In Castine, Doug Banks, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
If you're into history, that is a great
That's
place
the place
to visit.
to go.
Yeah.
Well, now here's meteorologist Evan Biggs with our full weather forecast.
Alrighty, Craig and Janessa, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by Old Town Redemption Center, now offering a 10% bonus on your returnables and a monthly $100 drawing. Alrighty, here we go. Wave heights up a little bit this morning along the coast at around 3 to 4 feet according to the buoys. Already nearby as well, very calm farther out towards sea. All the buoys farther out towards sea reporting 1 foot wave heights this morning. Meanwhile, on land, we do have some rain showers that are tracking from west to east across the northern parts of the state, while further down toward the south, not looking too bad. So if you have some indoor activities that you can do, definitely plan on those today, as it will be tough to do any kind of outdoor work with all the rain that will be passing through today. As we do zoom things out, it's the entire northeast seeing some of those rain showers. We'll have to wait until later on into the week for these rain showers showers that clear on out of here as a cold front passes through. So here's futurecast in the short term. We have the rain showers today, and then later on tonight as the rain showers continue and the clouds linger, we'll also have some areas of dense fog that will also develop, so visibility will be tough out there, especially as we head towards the daytime period tomorrow. But once we head towards Tuesday night, that's when things will begin to improve. Gusty winds today reaching up to about 20 to 25 miles per hour. But once we head towards tonight, that wind will relax, and that will definitely allow some of that fog to develop. But once we head towards your Tuesday, the wind's still staying rather calm. Here's what we got for your muggy meter coming up. Notice the humidity is up, so definitely supporting the rain and the fog out there. We'll see that gradually decreasing throughout the week. So for today, we have a mostly cloudy sky, some showers out there with highs in the upper 60s and that south wind getting up to about 25 miles per hour. Later on tonight, we have low 60s showers, areas of dense fog as well, with the wind overall looking nice and calm. And then for tomorrow, mostly cloudy, some scattered thunderstorms out there, nothing too ridiculous, with highs in the mid 70s and that northeast wind getting up to about 5 miles per hour. And let's check out your extended forecast for your Wednesday. We're dry with a mostly cloudy sky and highs in the low 80s. For your Thursday, a partly cloudy sky and highs in the low 80s as well. Low 80s continue Friday under a mostly sunny sky.
Ready, set, summer with the Honda Summer Event from the most fuel-efficient full-line automaker in America. Visit your local Honda dealer today.
From the heart of Maine, where rugged beauty meets timeless craftsmanship, Richard Henderson and Sons Masonry, taming the outdoors through groundwork, retaining walls and seawalls, building custom fireplaces that become the centerpiece of your home, crafting granite steps and patios that invite you outdoors, designing hardscapes that turn yards into living spaces, built to last, crafted for life. Richard Henderson and Sons Masonry, quality in every stone.
This is the sofa America's waited 250 years for. Bob's Playday Sectional, made from 100% American ambition. It's not content being just a sofa. Pop-up sleeper, ample storage, USB ports, bookshelf, even a drop-down table with cup holders.
Because nothing's more American than a sofa with more horsepower than a pickup truck.
Oh, my Bob!
Bob's Discount Furniture.
You don't get to buy the government that you want.
But let's look at what Troy Jackson did. Because Troy Jackson likes to keep it in the family. When Jackson was state Senate president, his son was one of the highest paid lobbyists in town. Special interests paid his son, and Jackson changed his positions. Was it a coincidence, or was something corrupt? Troy Jackson is just another dirty politician. SLF PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Ready, set, summer with the Honda Summer Event from the most fuel-efficient full-line automaker in America. Visit your local Honda dealer today.
The winner of the world's ugliest dog contest, Jenny Liu, took home the big prize in the annual and peculiar competition, which calls attention to the benefits of adopting rescue dogs. The 50th annual World's Ugliest Dog Contest was held in Santa Rosa, California on Friday, with contestants from as far away as Poland. Jenny Liu, a pug rescuee, celebrated winning first place and is owned by Michelle Grady. Grady received a $5,000 prize. Jenny Liu was rescued from the mountains in South Korea before being adopted and brought back to California. Pinky, an albino Pomeranian Chihuahua mix, came in second place, and a Chihuahua mix named Otto went on to win third place.
Yeah, hang in there just a second. We want to get a close-up of this second place winner here, because this is truly the ugliest dog I've ever seen.
It is.
Yeah, I think the pug was kind of cute, but look, somebody hit that dog with an ugly stick.
Correct.
Messed his face right up.
Poor little puppy.
Yeah. I'm sure it's a very loving animal, though.
It probably is.
All right, from that story to this one. On your mark, get set. There go the corgis, awful cute doggies. Welsh corgis, to be exact, took part in a corgi race on Saturday in Vilnius, Lithuania. It is the 5th time the race has been held in the Lithuanian capital. The breed of corgis are widely known for their association with the British royal family, but what you may not know is the corgis are also known for their tireless racing skills. More than 120 teams from around Europe competed in 7 categories, including the cutest and the fluffiest.
How cute.
They are cute. Yeah.
Well, that's all the time that we have left for this morning.
Have a great day, everyone.
Today on 25 Words or Less, her newspaper columns force readers to face the really hard questions, like why do I still have this newspaper?